Ever feel like your personal information is just floating out there in the digital ether, vulnerable to anyone who wants to grab it? Well, in 2017, that fear became a stark reality for nearly half the U.S. population. We're talking about the Equifax data breach, one of the most significant cybersecurity incidents in history. But what actually happened? What went wrong? And what can we learn from it? That's what we're diving into today. Before we get into the specifics of the breach, let's quickly understand who Equifax is and why they hold so much sensitive data. Equifax is one of the three major credit reporting agencies in the United States, alongside Experian and TransUnion. These companies collect and maintain vast amounts of personal and financial information on consumers, including names, social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, credit card numbers, and even driver's license numbers. This data is used by lenders, landlords, employers, and others to assess creditworthiness and make important decisions. In essence, they are gatekeepers of a crucial part of our financial identities. Now, imagine the consequences if this treasure trove of data fell into the wrong hands. That's precisely what occurred with the Equifax breach. Between mid-May and July of 2017, hackers exploited a vulnerability in Equifax's systems, gaining access to sensitive information of roughly 147.9 million people in the United States, as well as some individuals in the UK and Canada. That's nearly half the US population at the time. To put that into perspective, imagine every other person you know having their most private information exposed. So, how did this massive breach happen? The root cause was a known vulnerability in Apache Struts, an open-source web application framework. This vulnerability, designated CVE 2017-5638, had been publicly disclosed in March 2017, and a patch to fix it was readily available. This is crucial, a fix existed. Equifax, however, failed to apply this patch to its systems in a timely manner. This delay created a gaping hole in their security, a hole that hackers ruthlessly exploited. Think of it like leaving the front door of a bank wide open after everyone knows there's a problem with the lock. It's an invitation for trouble. The hackers were able to exploit this vulnerability to gain initial access to Equifax's systems. From there, they navigated through the network, accessing multiple databases containing the sensitive consumer data. They were able to extract this data over a period of several weeks before the breach was finally detected. The timeline is also important here. The vulnerability was announced in March. The breach occurred between May and July. Equifax didn't discover the breach until July 29th, and then waited until September 7th to publicly disclose it. This delay in disclosure drew significant criticism and fueled public anger. People were furious, and rightfully so. Not only had their data been compromised, but they were also left in the dark for over a month, unable to take immediate steps to protect themselves. The type of data exposed was particularly damaging. It wasn't just names and addresses. The hackers gained access to social security numbers for a vast majority of those affected, a key piece of information used for identity theft. They also stole birth dates, addresses, driver's license numbers, and in some cases, credit card numbers and dispute documents containing even more personal details. This comprehensive data set allowed criminals to potentially open fraudulent accounts, file false tax returns, obtain loans, and commit other forms of identity theft, leaving victims with a huge mess to clean up. The fallout from the breach was immense. Equifax faced numerous lawsuits, investigations by regulatory bodies like the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, and a significant loss of public trust. In 2019, Equifax reached a settlement with the FTC, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, and all 50 states, totaling up to $700 million. This settlement included funds for consumer redress, credit monitoring services, and improvements to Equifax's security practices. But the financial penalties are only part of the story. The breach had a profound impact on individuals. People spent countless hours checking their credit reports, placing fraud alerts, and dealing with the aftermath of potential identity theft. The stress and anxiety caused by this breach were significant. It shook public confidence in the ability of companies to protect sensitive personal information. The Equifax breach serves as a stark reminder of several crucial lessons. First, it highlights the importance of timely patching. Had Equifax applied the available patch for the Apache Struts vulnerability, the breach could have been prevented. This underscores the critical need for organizations to have robust vulnerability management programs and to prioritize patching known security flaws. Second, it emphasizes the need for strong security practices across the board. This includes not just patching but also implementing strong access controls, network segmentation, intrusion detection systems, and regular security audits. A multi-layered approach to security is essential to protect against increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks. Third, it demonstrates the importance of transparency and timely disclosure in the event of a breach. Equifax's delay in disclosing the breach exacerbated the damage and further eroded public trust. Companies have a responsibility to inform affected individuals as quickly as possible so they can take appropriate action to protect themselves. Fourth, it highlights the vulnerability of centralized data storage. Holding vast amounts of sensitive data in a single location creates a high-value target for hackers. This raises questions about the necessity of collecting and storing such extensive amounts of personal information and whether alternative approaches, such as data minimization or decentralization, should be considered. The Equifax data breach was a watershed moment in cybersecurity history. It exposed the vulnerability of our digital identities and highlighted the severe consequences of negligence in data protection. It's a lesson we must never forget. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.